Okay, here is a fourth style of trimming that I'm going to show you. In this cup, I did it in the time-lapse series that I made in the first throwing videos. In this piece, if you can see, it's actually slightly squared. So what I did was when the clay was wet, after I'd finished throwing it, I drew my finger up on one side, and then I did it on the opposite side, and then again a third and a fourth time to kind of create a square-like shape within the round shape of the cup. I left quite a bit of clay on the foot, and this time I'm really going to cut in here and make sort of a ledge, and then I'm going to have the foot come off the top. And then when I'm finished with the trimming, I'm going to use some Surform tools to square the sides of the pieces. So if you would like to try doing this kind of altering, you can do that as well. All right, so again, I have to center it. And you just want to center at the base. All right, looks like I have a lot more clay over here than I do over here. All right, and that lines up with my line. That's pretty good. Tack it down. You want your clay to be soft enough, but not too soft for attaching the clay. All right. And I really kind of want to bring that foot ring in quite a bit. All right, and you can see it's starting to get pretty narrow. I better be careful. Now I'm going to create kind of a ledge here. And I'm dropping the tool down a little bit so that it's lower toward the outside of the cup here. And I can use the narrow part of my tool here. I'm going to cut out the foot ring. Now I've got quite a bit of clay here, and that's somewhat reflective of the interior. It probably goes down a little bit more in the center than it's not exactly flat on the interior, so I'm gonna not go down to the level of the outside down here, but I am gonna go down a little bit more. All right. And I'll take away a little bit more and make this foot ring a little bit thinner to match the lip of my pot a little bit more. I don't want too much extra weight. You don't want to go through the bottom, so be careful. You'll notice, like, if your clay is really wet, you might have a sense of that with the way that your trimming tool cuts on the clay, and you might like to leave it, not be overly finished, but have that feeling of wet clay. And I'm going to bring in some pots that illustrate that for us next week for you to examine. While sometimes lips and feet that are kind of thin can be interesting or beautiful, you do have to be careful because they will be more prone to chipping. All right, so that is about enough. All right, and it feels like I still have a fair amount of clay there, but I'm not going to be concerned with this. So this is kind of what the profile of my foot looks like. So you can see I have kind of a ledge there where I cut it in. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to square the sides slightly with these Surform tools. Now we have a bunch of these yellow handled Surform tools on the pegboard. We also have these smaller handled pieces that are in the community tools that are on top of the library, and you can use either one. So my wall is not that thick. This is a good technique to use on a thick piece or a piece that you want to facet, but what I'm gonna do is kind of try to define these edges here by pulling. You want to make sure that you're shaving with the open part of the hole at the bottom. So when I pull it, it kind of cuts at it. Can you see that? It's fun, but you got to be careful not to do it too hard, or you'll just shave right through the pot and have a hole. So I know it's a little thicker here at the base. I'm going to go down a little bit more there. And I kind of like the rustic quality of these shavings. This is a woodworking tool, in fact, but it works nicely for ceramics. And I'm looking also to give myself some nice edges, all right? And then these are areas that I can highlight with my underglaze painting later. This is also a nice technique to use when you're working with a glaze that is colored and that changes colors with thickness, because in the grooves or cutouts you'll get one color of your glaze, and then in the raised areas you'll get a different color. So these are some things to notice when we get into the glazing. All right, and I have one more side here. And just gonna have it come down a little bit more, so I have kind of a curve here. So then I want to work through this edge and make sure, let me check and see how my square looks. I'm not very good at making things that are measured or symmetrical. We are making a few little dies up in the studio so that you can measure with a wheel how to divide your form into a circle or different facets. So this would be 4-sided facet, and the circle is a graph that has numbers so that you can see if you want to have like 10 facets or 12 facets. Usually there's in some kind of a multiple of, well, I guess it could be any number really, but how to divide that circle up to do that. So now I have a squarish cup. This is just mold here, you know, and now you can see it when I cut it through. But I'm just gonna refine this a little bit, and then I'm gonna make some handles for you.